Chapter 76. Famous killers usually have their own titles. The legendary killer John Wick was known as the Daredevil and Baba Yaga because of his superb hunting skills and his identity as a Belarusian gypsy. Baba Yaga is a witch in ancient Russian fairy tales who specializes in eating children lost in the forest. Pigeon? That's a bat. Broly said with gritted teeth as he almost failed. Karen, who was holding the wine bottle, froze. No one would regard that as a bat. He was shouting crazily deep in his heart. Forget it, I made a new set of flying darts. I believe it won't take long to reverse this mistake. Broly said, stacking the empty plates into a pile and pulling a new plate of steak in front of him. Who is that big customer you are talking about? Karen bowed slightly. Because this mission is very shocking, if it is leaked, the impact will be very bad, so after Mr. Wayne finishes his meal, I will take you to a safer place to learn about the mission information. Broly forked a whole piece of steak, stuffed it into his mouth, and wiped his mouth with a napkin. Then let's go. Okay, Mr. Wayne. Karen snapped his fingers and signaled the waiter to come and clear the table. He took Broly into the elevator and arrived at the rooftop of the Continental Hotel. The open-air roof is furnished with luxurious leather sofas, solid wood wine cabinets, and huge amounts of fireplaces. The firewood was burning brightly in the fireplace, making crackling sounds. Winston was already sitting on the sofa, waiting for Broly's arrival. Hello, Pigeon. He held a glass of whiskey in his hand and said to Broly. Karen's face showed embarrassment. He quickly stepped forward and whispered a few words into Winston's ear. Puff! Winston spit out the whiskey in his mouth and coughed violently. It took a long time to recover. Mr. Wayne, the goal of this mission is very astonishing. I hope you can think carefully. Once you hear the details of the reward, you are not allowed to reveal any relevant information, otherwise you will be wanted by the High Table Alliance. There is no need for any gain a foothold. He looked at Broly seriously. The target is that Tony Stark. Broly sat on the sofa and said boredly. Yes, the only one who has been treated with such caution recently is Tony Stark. The employer originally hired Afghan terrorists, but these terrorists seemed to have their own plans. After kidnapping Tony Stark, they did not kill him, but imprisoned him. This made his employer very angry, but after Tony Stark was kidnapped, he was in the spotlight and was closely monitored by CIA and other agents. He could only pass through us. Holy Tony Stark, said Winston, who did not identify his employer. Many tabloids have listed several of the most suspicious objects through conspiracy theories. For example, Obadiah Stane, the major shareholder of Stark Industries, Justin Hammer of Hammer Industries, and even the Pentagon are suspected of being the mastermind behind the kidnapping of Tony Stark. Tony Stark's route is very secret, and only a few people know it. The appearance of the terrorists was too coincidental. That group of terrorists is not simple. They are people from 10 Rings. The leader of 10 Rings, Huo Yun Zishan, is an extremely terrifying person. Although he was defeated by Eastern martial arts people 20 years ago and fled to the Middle East, he did not long after, 10 Rings was rebuilt. It is said that he was over 90 years old and possessed a magical ring. The High Table suffered a heavy injury because of him. Definitely, he has been avoiding the pursuit of Eastern warriors in the past few years. He lives in seclusion. Those who are active outside are his disciples and subordinates. When assassinating Tony Stark, you do not need to face him directly. Mr. Wayne needs to face approximately more than 200 armed 10 Rings. They are equipped with advanced weapons produced by Stark Industries, and even heavy weapons such as main battle tanks. Thanks to the constant support from Stark Industries, 10 Rings was able to gain a firm foothold in Afghanistan, repelling the Eastern warriors who came to the door, and even became the underground ruler of Afghanistan. Said Winston. The employer heard about Mr. Wayne's perfect performance when hunting Dave Boyle, so he was willing to try to hand over this very difficult bounty to our Continental Hotel. The bounty is $50 million, as long as the death of Tony Stark is confirmed. It will be credited to your account immediately. You can consider whether to accept this reward. Please give me flowers. Broly clenched his hands into fists. This world seemed different from the movies and comics. Even the Fire Cloud Evil God appeared. I will definitely accept it. 200 people, Fire Cloud Evil God, why don't you accept it? If it is really the Fire Cloud Evil God in the comic Dragon Tiger Gate, Broly can't wait to fight with him. He was so excited that he couldn't even control the rising energy in his body. Winston was so angry that his hair stood on end, as if the person sitting opposite him was not a human being, but a terrifying beast covered in human skin, ready to tear off the disguise at any time and crazily destroy everything in front of him. 0. Since you have agreed, you can view further information. Winston forced himself to calm down and took out a map from his arms. On the map are marked all the 10 rings strongholds known to the employer. Stark is probably being held in a stronghold somewhere. When Winston said this, he paused. In addition, try to use sneak assassination methods to avoid causing too serious losses to the 10 rings. If you anger the fire cloud evil god, you will die, and even the High Table will be affected. The core of High Table was originally in the Middle East, and it was considered a local leader in the entire Middle East. However, when faced with 10 rings, a powerful dragon across the river, it suffered heavy losses and was almost driven out of the Middle East. This time I accepted the reward for assassinating Tony Stark, and I also wanted to cause some trouble for the Kyunja gang. In Afghanistan, the US troops stationed here seem to have exploded. The famous playboy and chairman of Stark Industries was kidnapped by terrorists in their hands. This has caused an uproar in the country. Huge amounts of pressure instantly fell on Army Lieutenant General John Scott, commander of the U.S. forces in Afghanistan. Scott graduated from the U.S. Army Military Academy and became an Army Lieutenant General. He served as the commander of the 82nd Airborne Division and the commander of NATO Ground Forces. He has rich connections in the military and political circles. But even he can't handle the pressure from the Pentagon. Chapter 77. To this end, he has mobilized nearly 1/3 of the entire force in Afghanistan and launched an attack operation code-named Forest Python to attack the 10 Rings base. The 2nd Battalion, 160th Aviation Combat Regiment, the 87th Infantry Regiment, 1st Brigade, 10th Mountain Division, the 187th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Brigade, 101st Airborne Division, as well as SEALs and Delta Force. Everyone joins this massive action. On the other hand, he also tried to contact 10 Rings to start negotiations through some well-connected people in the Afghan government. General, Captain Michael Murphy of SEAL Team 10 has discovered a base in 10 Rings. The adjutant passed along the findings from the SEAL team. But the base seems to have been attacked, and all the 10 Rings members inside were killed. The video data shot by the 220 SEAL team members was quickly transmitted to the Theater Command headquarters through the Theater Command and Control system. The person who shot the video was obviously in a state of shock, causing the video to be a little shaky, but it was still enough to clearly see the scene in the base. Corpses fell to the ground. They appeared to have been attacked during lunch, while broth was still simmering in the campfire. There were very few bullet casings in the battlefield, and it seemed that the armed men of 10 Rings were dispatched before they could fire a few shots. Some people even threw away their weapons and chose to surrender. But the attackers showed no mercy and killed everyone cleanly. The attackers used cold weapons, similar to flying darts, and there was no trace of the use of firearms. Michael Murphy has scouted the battlefield in detail. Who could have done it? Everyone in the headquarters was talking about it. We have been launching frequent attacks on 10 Rings recently. It is impossible for them not to be vigilant. The attackers obviously have an overwhelming advantage. The relationship between the US military in Afghanistan and 10 Rings is actually quite ambiguous. Both sides share common enemies and often cooperate to jointly attack the Taliban. The US military will even send personnel to train 10 Rings armed personnel. Therefore they are very familiar with the armed forces of the 10 Rings. Someone who can destroy a 10 Rings base like a stone is definitely not an easy person. John Scott's face was very solemn. Perhaps it was the Eastern warriors who did it. He told the worst possible scenario. Compared to the very rigid relationship between the US government and mutant, the Eastern government completely controls the power of the warriors. Those warriors possess the power of chi, and the best among them can easily defeat 1 against 100. Fire Cloud Evil God had a blood feud with them, so it was not surprising that he chose this time to cause trouble for him. Intensify the search efforts, and we must not let Tokan Starkty fall into the hands of those Oriental people. Otherwise, everyone will wait to go to Alaska to grow ugly beans. Tony Stark's value is far beyond his status as chairman of Stark Industries. As a talented engineer, 1/3 of the weapons currently in service in the US military are produced by Stark Industries, 1/4 of the weapons are participated in the development by him, and 1/10 of the weapons are directly developed by him. If such a key figure falls into the hands of the Easterners, they will instantly take huge amounts of advantage in the confrontation. It would be very troublesome just to have the performance parameters of those weapons leaked. Who knows if Tony Stark will set up a secret door in the weapon system. What's worse is that Tony Stark directly committed treason and researched weapons for the Easterners. At the moment, Broly was sleeping rough in the wilderness of Afghanistan. He sat cross-legged in the middle of a dry river and lit a bonfire. Looking up, there is a pale yellow, desolate mountain range like a dragon's spine, rising and falling, rugged and steep, magnificent under the sunlight. This is a restricted area of life, surrounded by desolation, no human habitation, no houses. During the Second War in Afghanistan more than 30 years ago, the Russians buried more than 10 million landmines here. When they evacuated, they buried another 3 million landmines. Often herders are killed or disabled after accidentally stepping on landmines, and gradually they no longer dare to come here to graze. Broly boiled a pot of water, then took off the bat armor and mask, covering it with a cloak. He broke the neck of a brown bear and threw it aside. Landmines drove away humans, but allowed wild animals to flourish rapidly in the entire Panjwai region. This brown bear has abundant food sources and has become fat and strong. Berries from the bushes, insects, fish, and even wolves and snow leopards are all part of its diet. Broly took out a bat flying darts, skinned the brown bear cleanly, strung the dismembered meat pieces on the branches, and roasted them on the bonfire. Come out! He threw away the bearskin in his hand, sat down on the ground, and adjusted the heat. The bear meat on the branches made an attractive sizzling sound, and rich fat exploded on the surface of the meat. A young man with a knife on his back walked out of the corner of the river with some embarrassment. "Can you make cheese?" he asked in halting English. At the moment, Broly still looked like Bruce Wayne. "Can," Broly said, throwing a skewer of grilled meat over. "My name is Nai Zheng." Nai Zheng took the barbecue and took a bite. He was almost choked by the anger of the barbecue. He was a gentle man, but he was too embarrassed to spit it out in front of Broly, so he could only swallow it with a blue face. "It's just that I don't want to eat the remaining meat no matter what, so I hold it in my hand awkwardly." "Your knife is very good." Broly picked up a bunch of meat, put it all into his mouth, and chewed it. This is the sword passed down from ancestors in version 1.0, called the Snow Drinking Sword. When Nai Zheng saw Broly's wild eating look, the anger he had suppressed surged up again. He quickly opened the kettle and took a big gulp to suppress the taste. "Can you lend it to me to take a look at it?" Nai Zheng took off the long knife and handed it to Broly. "Why not?" He practiced the Bing Xinju passed down from his family and could observe people with his mind, otherwise he would not have walked out after being shouted at. Broly unbuckled the scabbard and drew the knife. The long knife was very heavy, and as soon as it was unsheathed, it exuded a frightening cold air. The originally blazing bonfire suddenly shrank in intensity, and white mist and frost began to condense in the river valley, as if winter had arrived early. "Good knife." He put the knife back into its sheath and gave it back to Xia Zheng. Chapter 78. "I hope we won't be enemies next time, Mr. Wayne." Nai Zheng put the long knife on his back. "On the contrary, I am looking forward to playing against you." Broly cut off another large piece of bear meat and roasted it on the campfire. Although Nai Zheng tried his best to contain the energy in his body, he could still vaguely feel the powerful force that was as restless as the wind. Coupled with that sword, he would be an opponent worthy of fighting with all his strength. Nai Zheng just shook his head. He wanted to show strength and used Qing Gong. In just a moment, his figure appeared more than 30 meters away. In a few breaths, his figure was just a sun point. After a few dozen miles of luck, Nai Zheng stopped on the branch of a dead tree and took out a mobile phone from his arms. "Senior Sister Bulletin, I have found the person who attacked 10 Rings. He is a foreigner and not a fellow martial artist as expected." He was as careful as a dust, noting that the flying darts Broly had used to cut his flesh matched those of the 10 Rings armed men. A very cold voice came from the other end of the phone. "How is your strength?" 17. Nai Zheng pondered for a moment. "I couldn't tell, because I didn't know the foundation, so I didn't test it." Bulletin King Yun on the other end of the phone said, "Well done. This time we are mainly trying to get the head of Fire Cloud Evil God. If it is not necessary, don't provoke other people." Broly ate a whole bear, wiped his greasy hands on the bear's skin, and took out a wrinkled map from his pocket. There were 7 10 Rings bases marked on it, and he crossed out the 2 bases that had been completely destroyed with a pencil. The nearest base is in the mountains 30 kilometers away. Putting on the bat armor, mask, and cloak, Broly jumped onto the somersault cloud and flew towards the target. The Panchwai area can be called a mountain and a river, especially after the rainy season. The dry rivers are filled with water, and the crisscrossing rivers can be called a hell for modern armies. In the 19th century, the Pashtuns resisted the British here, in the 20th century they resisted the Russians, and in the 21st century they resisted the Americans. After crossing the crisscrossing mountains, Broly found the base of 10 rings. The base area of 10 rings is usually quite large, with 200 to 400 armed personnel stationed there. This base is larger than any base Broly has found before, with about 700 people in it. 2 A5 infantry fighting vehicles and more than 20 Scania military vehicles were parked in the open space. There are also 5 777 ultralight howitzers in the corner, placed in the artillery position. The poppy fields in 10 rings and the human trade business alone cannot afford these expensive equipment. Broly released the transformation technique. The armed forces of this base are very powerful. Under the restriction that the transformation technique can only exert 1/10 of the strength, it is very easy to overturn. However, when he transformed, he didn't change his body shape much, so the armor and mask still fit well. Jumping directly from the sky, Broly landed on the roof of an infantry fighting vehicle. The impact force caused the infantry fighting vehicle's body to vibrate violently, causing dust to fly. Broly held the turret of the infantry fighting vehicle with both hands, and instantly burst out with extremely strong energy. He directly tore off the latches between the turret and the vehicle body, and pulled the entire turret together with the hanging basket below. The loader was pulled out together. He casually threw the turret out and smashed a truck. He jumped off the infantry fighting vehicle, grabbed the road wheel of another infantry fighting vehicle, and shouted loudly. The total weight of 2A5 was about 20 tons, but after Broly exploded with all his energy, he was overturned and rolled over, crushing a military truck next to him into scrap metal. He made an instant surprise attack and destroyed 2 infantry fighting vehicles that could pose a threat to him. "Is Tony Stark here?" Broly asked the soldiers in the base. "Go to hell." An armed man aimed at Broly and pulled the trigger. 4A1, produced under license from Stark Industries, is well made and some of the guns selected after screening can even be used as sniper rifles. Bullets were being fired, and Broly's left hand was like a phantom, grabbing all the bullets fired at him like catching flies. Ding 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 ding. Broly let go of his hand, and hot bullets rolled down onto the sand. The armed man emptied all the bullets in the magazine and tried to change the magazine in a panic, but in the next moment he was kicked 10 meters away by Broly. "Just tell me where Tony Stark is and you might not have to die," Broly said again. "Your old Hwoyun evil god's position is also fine." The next moment, he took out a bat flying darts and threw it. The roaring flying darts flew more than 200 meters and penetrated an armed man who was trying to control an anti-aircraft machine gun. The strong force even carried his body flying 5 or 6 meters. The other 10 rings fighters finally reacted to Broly's surprise attack. A torrential rain of bullets was pouring towards him, including some rifle grenades, hand grenades, and even rockets. Broly felt distressed for the armor on his body, and instantly exploded, jumping into the air. These bullets hit his 963 body without pain or itching, but the armor made of iron plates would definitely be scrapped. The rain of bullets covered the sky, but what was hit was only the afterimage left by Broly. He held flying bats and broke into the armed men, causing a bloody storm. Almost no one could delay him for a moment. In the blink of an eye, the base was already littered with dead and wounded. The morale of these armed men in 10 rings collapsed and they began to show signs of retreat. Suddenly, a big hand grasped the head of a retreating armed man and lifted him into the air. "Idiot, these people don't understand English," a big man with a crocodile tattoo said contemptuously, and he used his palms to squeeze the head in his hands. Broly suddenly stopped. The flying darts in his hand were distorted and shape-shifted from cutting too many people's throats. "I see." The big man took out a handkerchief from his trouser pocket and wiped the blood and brains from his palm. "Looking at your nonsense dress, you must be an American. I am Crocodile Taisui, the 6th disciple of the Fire Cloud Evil God. Since you dare to cause trouble for our 10 rings, I will let your little boy Hauerhei be born from your mother's womb." Crocodile Taisui's English is very poor, and he had to stumble to complete a short sentence. It took Broly some guessing to figure out what he meant. Chapter 79. "Let's communicate in Hyuxia," Broly said helplessly. "Are you looking down on me?" Crocodile Taisui immediately rages and uses his power. He practiced the golden bell passed down from the Fire Cloud Evil God, and when he got lucky, there was a strong force, and a glow flowed under his bronze skin. The gravel and debris on the ground were rolled up by the strong force and flew out. In an instant, flying sand and rocks. "Look, I'm going to take your life now." He is arrogant and arrogant. The golden bell cover was created by Bodhidharma, a generation of martial arts master. It is a set of supreme magical skills that can be practiced both internally and externally. There are 12 levels in total, and each level is more difficult than the previous one. If you can complete the 12 levels, not only will the diamond be indestructible, but it will not be afraid of water, fire, or poison. It will also be able to sleep without rest, its internal energy will be endless, and it will also be able to counterattack the enemy's attacks with its internal energy. This martial art is extremely difficult to master. No more than 10 people have mastered the 10th level. Only one monk, Saiyan, has mastered the 11th level. The only person who has perfected the 12 levels is Bodhidharma, who created the god of door Kung Fu. The ancestor Crocodile Tai Sui was able to be accepted as a disciple by the Fire Cloud Evil God, and his martial arts ability was outstanding. At this age, he could only reach the 7th level of the Golden Bell Shield. His Jinzong Jao's external skills have been cultivated to the peak, and he has begun to cultivate both internal and external skills, and his internal energy is strong. Even a soft reed can kill someone in his hands. Recently, in the process of annihilating the 10 rings, Broly's Kame Senryu martial arts skills broke through again. Kame Senryu martial arts IV10, Perception Chi, you can understand the location and strength of the target through Perception Chi. A truly strong person can even perceive the Chi from several galaxies away, and even the underworld. Perception breath seems very simple, but Wukong only mastered this skill after practicing with the gods. Even when Raditz attacked the earth, Minglin and others did not know the skill of judging the enemy's position and strength through Chi. See Dragon Ball Chapter 196, Broly could feel that Crocodile Taisui's Chi was not that strong, just like Daimon Goro, but his Chi gave people a feeling of being as heavy as a mountain and as tough as steel, and it was much stronger in terms of quality. Facing the rushing Crocodile Taisui, Broly burst out his energy in an instant, and then threw the flying darts in his hand. Flying darts exceeded the speed of sound in an instant, and the gas explosions and shock waves left traces visible to the naked eye in the air. Crocodile Taisui just crossed his arms in front of him. Dang! A bell rang, like a morning bell and a dusk drum, and a wave of uncertain golden bell energy enveloped Crocodile Taisui's body. The flying darts hit Chi-Jin, and were instantly shattered into pieces by the force of Chi-Jin's rebound. The strong force on the flying darts stopped Crocodile Taisui's momentum, and Broly took action instantly, crossing a distance of more than 20 meters in one move. A knee hit Crocodile Taisui's chest. The force of the golden bell's backlash made Broly hesitate, but he overcame it in an instant and punched Crocodile Taisui in the face. This punch was so powerful that it knocked Crocodile Taisui to the ground and sunk deeply into the ground. Broly loosened his fist, and the force from the counterattack made his right hand numb. The energy from the fist did not penetrate into Crocodile Taisui's body, but was blocked by his golden bell energy. "You're looking for death." Rage's Crocodile Taisui jumped up from the ground and distanced himself from Broly. Even though Jin Zhong's energy blocked most of the force, he was still heartbroken by Broly's blast. Although it was just a physical pain, only painful but not hurt, it was still a bit too much for him to bear. He has never been so embarrassed since he completed the 7th level of the Golden Bell. "Interesting, so interesting!" Broly shouted excitedly. With Crocodile Taisui's energy, if he fell into this trap, his muscles and bones should have been broken, and he would not be able to resist at all. But looking at his vigorous appearance, it is obvious that his combat power has not been compromised at all. Maybe you can let Kakarot practice the Golden Bell, so that you don't need to hold back your hands during sparring. Die! Crocodile Taisui punched out his fist, and the golden energy blasted towards Broly through the air. He put almost all his energy on the Golden Bell mask magic Kung Fu. His other martial arts were just ordinary, and he only learned the demon subduing iron thread fist. It is usually used against the enemy. With the defensive power of the Golden Bell, it can defeat the enemy with a few punches, but when used against Broly, it is stretched. Broly directly held the fist Jin in his bare hands, squeezed it hard, and the fist Jin exploded, but his hand was unscathed. Crocodile Taisui's eyes bulged. This was the first time he saw someone receiving his punch in this way. Fist Jin's speed is extremely fast, and it's already difficult to catch it, let alone who would use Chuan Jin to catch and play with it. His heart skipped a beat, and he realized that he couldn't seem to defeat the strange man wearing strange armor in front of him. The next moment, Broly was in front of him. When there was a loud sound like a bell, and Crocodile Taisui felt a sharp pain in his chest, and Jianzhenxi's nervousness almost exploded. His body was pushed away by the fist and hit the body of the infantry fighting vehicle. Boom! Amidst a heart-breaking sound of metal cracking, the relatively weak armor on the side of the infantry fighting vehicle distorted and shape-shifted under the impact. The heavy body moved 3 meters laterally before stopping due to the force of the punch. What's going on? Where am I? Crocodile Taisui's body was stuck on the body of the infantry fighting vehicle. He was almost stunned. This was the first time that he was almost beaten forcefully. Even if you are a martial arts master, if you want to break through the golden bell shield, your protective energy will only target the acupuncture points and the shield door. There is no such thing as a hard attack. He activated the inner power of the golden bell at the 7th level to heal his wounds. Zhao pft. A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. Although the air was blocked, the force of the punch just now shocked his internal organs. It's amazing, it's really amazing. He's still not dead, he's even just slightly injured. Broly grabbed Crocodile Taisui's head and pulled him out of the body of the infantry fighting vehicle. He was a little tempted by the golden bell that Crocodile Taisui had learned. You have to learn to be beaten before you can hit someone. If he has the magical power of the golden bell, then even if he is weaker than Frieza 20 years later, he will still have the possibility of fighting and will not be killed directly. The legendary Super Saiyan's strength has almost no upper limit and can constantly increase due to anger and fighting. As long as Frieza cannot subdue, severely injure, or kill Broly, he will eventually be defeated by him. Can you teach me how to put a clock on your body? I can let you go. Chapter 80. Broly said. I'll teach you Lao Mu. Crocodile Taisui punched Broly on the head, but Broly blocked it. I can't help it, so I'll use you to practice my moves. With such a powerful defense, Crocodile Taisui can be called the most powerful punching bag. Broly's left hand suddenly burst out with arc-like energy and grabbed Crocodile Taisui's shoulder. The powerful chi even invaded the Jinzong Qiao Chi, blocking part of Crocodile Taisui's internal energy. Wolf Fang Wind Fist. He used his right hand to use the Lanja Feng Fang Fist, and the fist hit Crocodile Taisui's body like a rainstorm, knocking him into the air. Crocodile Taisui was horrified. This was the first time he encountered the situation where Jinzong Jiao's strength was suppressed, and he tried his best to block it with his remaining internal strength. The overwhelming fists clashed violently with the energy of the golden bell, and the bell sounded continuously. Suddenly, a golden bell-like energy dissipated, and he was beaten to death. Navy Captain Michael Murphy, Sergeant Matthew Axelson, Sergeant Danny Dietz and Sergeant Marcus Luttala were lying in ambush on the hilltop opposite the Ten Rings base, and the dense grass surrounded there. The figure is completely covered. They are a reconnaissance team belonging to the 10th Battalion of the SEAL 100 Commandos. Matthew Axelson and Marcus Luttala served as snipers and observers, Danny Dietz was in charge of radio communications, and Michael Murphy was in charge of command. They used high-powered telescopes and telephoto lenses to record all the amazing battles that took place in the camp. The 4 of them are still in silence due to Broly's terrifying destructive power. Should we call the Air Force to launch an attack? Danny Dietz said with some difficulty. An AC-130 gunship is monitoring this area from high altitude, and can rain down fire on the Ten Rings camp at any time. Their mission from above is to search for Tony Stark's location. If it is determined that there is no Tony Stark in the base, directly launch an airstrike to destroy the base. Murphy, the commander of the team, stuffed a few raisins into his mouth to replenish energy. First report to the intelligence department. This man wearing black cat armor may be one of ours. There's something strange about Matthew Axelson. How do you know, Captain? Murphy sipped the water from his mouth through a straw. Didn't you notice his strange armor? Only us Americans wear it like this. After destroying the entire base of Ten Rings, Broly jumped directly off the cliff. The high mountains and rugged rocks in the Afghan mountains were as flat as ground beneath his feet. His speed reached the limit, like a black meteor, quickly falling into the valley, and then beaming towards the top of the mountain where they were. We've been discovered. Matthew Axelson tried in horror to put Broly into the scope, but found that he couldn't do it because the target was too fast. Don't shoot. Don't show hostility. Murphy clicked his sniper rifle. With the strength shown by the target in the Ten Rings camp, the 4 of them had no power to resist. He threw away the rifle in his hand, took out the dog tag, raised his hands and stood up. "We are Americans, SEAL Team 10, and I am Michael Murphy." Broly had already sensed their anger, reached out and grabbed the Canon camera hanging around Michael Murphy's neck, crushed it to pieces, and then left like a phantom. "Ma or fake, I was so scared that I almost peed. I already peed." Destroying 3 10 rings bases brought Broly's level directly to level 13, and he gained another attribute point. This time he focused directly on intelligence. This allowed his intelligence attribute to finally reach 8 points, with, bet, average level. His mind became clear for a while, and he felt that his thinking ability had become much stronger, and he even became more comfortable controlling his energy. Jumping all the way through the mountains, he suddenly saw a poppy field in full bloom. Pink poppies bloom all over the mountains and plains, as if the supreme color has fallen to the ground. A group of women, old people, and children were busy in the poppy fields. Only by handing in enough poppy berries can they exchange for food from the 10 rings. If something goes wrong with the poppies in the fields, they will starve to death. Under the control of the 10 rings, the Pashtuns living here cultivated tens of thousands of acres of poppy. There are dozens more poppy farms like this. In Afghanistan, the Taliban grows poppies, the 10 rings grow poppies, and even some large Pashtun tribes grow poppies. The poppy cultivation area in Afghanistan has reached 3.28 million hectares. Annual opium production is expected to reach 90 million tons. Since the US military invaded Afghanistan, the poppy production here has been rising year after year, and it is impossible for either party to refuse the temptation of poppy. If you don't grow poppies, you will lose your financial resources. If you don't have enough funds, you won't be able to buy more advanced weapons or support more armed personnel. Without enough force, it won't be long before they completely disappear from the land of Afghanistan. Individual power cannot reverse this environment at all. Broly was walking on the land, and a group of children wearing dirty rags looked at him secretly. These children all have rotten teeth. In order to keep their children quiet, some parents feed opium directly to their children as chocolate. No matter how noisy the child is, he will calm down after taking opium. They are uneducated and have no idea that opium is addictive. Broly noticed that some women and old men had only one hand left. It was the 10 rings, the punishment for those who secretly hid poppy berries. This land is dying. What she needs is not Iron Man, Captain America, or God, but a leader who can pull people out of the quagmire. Broly crossed the poppy field without stepping on any poppy. The cell phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He took it out and found that it was the one Matt gave him. "Hey, is this Broly?" Matt's voice rang from the phone. "What's wrong?" Broly asked. "There is a big job. Are you willing to do it? The CIA is willing to pay $5 million US. Matt said. Broly's face looked a little strange. Why there were so many big jobs recently? What job? Who are you going to kill? It won't be Tony Stark, right? Chapter 81. There was a violent cough on Matt's side. Ahem. This joke can't be made casually. The phone call is recorded, Broly. If it's not Tony Stark, how could our CIA take action against him? He is a weirdo wearing black cat armor. He is very powerful. Ordinary soldiers are not his at all. Opponent. The US military gave him the code name Cat Demon. Cat Demon. Broly was excited for a while, but he didn't know when Tony Stark's bounty would be completed, and he might not be able to make time. I'm a little busy these days. Does this Cat Demon have time to ask for help? He said on the phone. That's such a pity. I also plan to take you to a bar in Kandahar to have fun. Although Matt was very curious about what Broly was up to, he was too sensible to ask. Are you also in Afghanistan? Then I can help you kill this Cat Demon. Please give me your address. Broly said happily. He was a little tired of looking for Tony Stark in the deserts and mountains. It might be a good choice to kill this Cat Demon first to lighten the mood. Okay. Matt reported the address with some excitement. If he can successfully complete the task this time, he can take a step forward in the CIA. Do you want me to arrange a plane to pick you up? No need, I'll be there in 30 minutes. Broly pulled out the map and found the location of Kandahar City. Broly hid his Batman armor in a hidden cave, and then flew to Kandahar City on a somersault cloud. The CIA's funds are almost endless, and the address Matt reported is the best hotel in Kandahar. Broly didn't waste much time and found Kandahar's landmark building, the Kandahar Hotel. Matt ordered a cup of local yogurt tea and waited for Broly's arrival in the lobby. "So you are in Kandahar?" Because Broly arrived so quickly, he thought Broly had been in Kandahar before. He took Broly into the elevator and went straight to the presidential suite of 20 Kong. Although it is already the best hotel in Kandahar, it is still a bit shabby. In the presidential suite, there were already several armed soldiers waiting inside. Some of them were watching boring TV programs while others were sitting around playing cards. After Matt entered the door, he clapped his hands first, attracting everyone's attention, and then motioned Broly to find a place to sit down. "Pull out a whiteboard and start explaining the details of the mission. We are going to the base of 10 Rings in a moment to check Tony Stark's physical condition. Scott, you are responsible for this task. Bring all the medical equipment and be sure to check out all the problems with this playboy in detail. Even if he has hemorrhoids, he still has to figure out the shape of the hemorrhoids for me." There was a burst of laughter among the crowd. Tony Stark's thin skin and tender flesh were not impossible. "Everyone, be careful not to conflict with the people in 10 Rings. Our mission is just to confirm that Tony Stark is really alive. Check the equipment now. The plane will arrive in 20 minutes. After Matt finished speaking, he pulled Broly into a room. "How is this going?" Broly asked. "We have been supporting the 10 Rings, and their weapons were obtained through CIA channels. The CIA's plan was originally to use the 10 Rings to contain the Taliban in the East, but we did not expect that they gave us a huge amount of surprise. Now the entire CIA is very embarrassing." Matt directly told what the CIA was doing. He is not afraid that Broly will leak the conversation between the two. Nowadays, various conspiracy theories are flying all over the United States. As long as there is no concrete evidence, it is not painful for a behemoth like the CIA. Obadiah alone cannot transport the weapons produced by Stark Industries to Afghanistan and put them into the hands of 10 Rings. This trade chain requires huge amounts of energy and power to complete its operation, and the CIA is an indispensable part of it. Fire Cloud Evil God cannot control everyone under his control. After fleeing to Afghanistan, Huang Zieshan chose to cooperate with the local Pushtun tribe in order to prevent 10 Rings from directly falling apart. These Pushtun tribes provide funds, manpower, and fresh blood to the 10 Rings, and the 10 Rings provide high-end combat capabilities to the tribes to resist exploitation by the Taliban. "Please give me flowers." This method of cooperation was very successful. 10 Rings successfully took root in the unfamiliar land of Afghanistan and developed rapidly, while these tribes were under the protection of 10 Rings. We will not be squeezed out by the Taliban. But the shortcomings are also obvious. The organization of the 10 Rings is very loose. The only ones that Fire Cloud Evil God can really control are the more than 10 directly affiliated bases. The other tribes follow the instructions but not the propaganda, and are similar to princes. A leader named Reza under 10 Rings was bribed by Obadiah, but when he captured Tony Stark, he unexpectedly wanted to force Tony Stark to develop and produce weapons for him. Reza obviously knows nothing about modern industrial assembly lines. Even the power supply in his cave requires diesel generators. His subordinates are all illiterate people who cannot read or write. Even if they tie Tony Stark to the electric chair, there is no way to change him. Come out of a factory. Without stable power guarantee, cutting-edge production equipment, well-trained production line workers, and high-quality management personnel, it is simply impossible to mass-produce modern weapons. As a monster who has lived from the late Qing dynasty to the present, Fire Cloud Evil God will naturally not have such naive ideas. Instead, he attached great importance to his relationship with the CIA. He knew that without the support of the CIA, he would not be able to compete with the East. Immediately executed the stupid Reza, took control of Tony Stark, and ordered his tribe to abandon the base transfer when attacked by the US military. Anyway, as long as it reaches an agreement with the CIA, the US military will exchange these bases for them. Originally, the negotiations were going very smoothly, and Tony Stark was about to be handed over to us. Matt gritted his teeth. It was he who led the negotiations, but this inexplicable cat demon suddenly appeared and attacked 10 Rings subordinates crazily. Pushtun tribe. These tribes were very dissatisfied with the execution of Lazar by the Fire Cloud Evil God, and they became even more dissatisfied after the appearance of the cat demon. They plotted to escape from the 10 Rings corpse on the grounds that the Fire Cloud Evil God could no longer protect the tribe. Chapter 82. Naturally, the Fire Cloud Evil God would not show mercy. He executed the 2 leading tribal leaders, and sent several disciples to look for the cat demon man, and obtained the heads of the other tribal leaders to appease the remaining tribal leaders. Not long ago, Crocodile Taisui, a disciple of the fire cloud evil god, died in the hands of the cat demon. Matt's face was very solemn. As a collaborator of 10 Rings, CIA naturally knows the strength of several disciples of Hogyoku evil god. Naturally, some of his disciples are stronger than Crocodile Taisui, but no one can easily kill Crocodile Taisui in the 7th level of the Golden Bell. Because warriors from the east appeared in Afghanistan, Fire Cloud Evil God couldn't directly kill the cat demon. He used it as a bargaining chip in exchange for Tony Stark and gave us the task of dealing with the cat demon. Although the CIA has huge power, ordinary agents and 577 soldiers can only die when facing the cat demon. Matt immediately thought of Broly. With the fighting prowess Broly showed in Mexico City, it shouldn't be difficult to take down the cat demon. Broly struggled to keep his face straight. The more he listened, the more wrong he became. The cat demon in Matt's mouth was not himself. But it is obviously a bat armor, why is it thought to be a cat? This is an insult to his aesthetics and Cade Eagle's craftsmanship. Do you have any photos of the cat demon? Matt shook his head. Not long ago, a Navy SEAL reconnaissance team witnessed the entire process of him killing Crocodile Taisui, but unfortunately, the photos they took were destroyed by the cat demon. Now the US military is already using software to draw the cat demon with their appearance, we will get their finished film soon. 2 A-60 Black Hawk helicopters were parked on the roof of the hotel. The blades roared, and the airflow almost blew everything on the top floor away. Several people got into the helicopter against the air current. The spacious cabin of the helicopter could easily seat 11 people. Matt took Broly on one of them, while the remaining soldiers crowded into the other. The helicopter began to climb, banked and turned over the hotel, and entered the target route. They are all seconded by the CIA from the 160th Aviation Combat Regiment. Experienced helicopter pilots never stay in one place for too long. Matt took off an earphone from above the cabin, handed it to Broly, and took one himself. The 2 turboshaft engines on the helicopter were so noisy that you could only communicate normally with headphones. What happened to that Raditz in Ciudad Juarez? He took out a box of beer from the cabin, opened a bottle, and handed it to Broly. With Broly's deliberate indulgence, the Juarez video quickly spread on the internet. The internet has been torn. Some people believe that Green Goblin and Raditz are the same person, while others firmly believe that Superman and Green Goblin are not the same person. A small character, a poor guy with weak qualifications, but I didn't expect him to actually pursue him to the earth. Broly starts to show off his acting skills. Even Matt, although he had already suspected it, couldn't help but be a little shocked after Broly's generous admission. The combat power detection glasses that Broly brought out were not technology that humans could possess at all. His tail is also very strange. It's just that he subconsciously thought it was a mutation of mutant. Why is he hunting you? Matt immediately asked. This is related to the diplomatic relations between the Earth and planet Vegeta, and he must ask clearly. When faced with planet Vegeta, which has the ability to travel between stars, the Earth is undoubtedly on the weaker side. It's simple. I have better abilities than Prince Vegeta. King Vegeta was afraid that I would threaten his status, so he tried to kill me. There are kings and princes. It seems that planet Vegeta is a monarchy. Dealing with this kind of country is the most troublesome. Matt has a headache. Don't worry, I escaped from the Earth, and I don't pose much of a threat to Prince Vegeta anymore. The Earth is a remote planet with poor resources. They will not waste time and invade on a large scale. At most, there is no such thing as paradise. How many potential warriors can come over and see if they can kill me? Broly said. How strong is this Raditz? Matt is doubtful, but at this stage he can only contact Broly, and cannot verify the authenticity from planet Vegeta or Raditz. Right now, Raditz's strength is about the same as mine, but he is already over 50 years old, and I am only 12 years old. It won't be long before I can surpass him. Broly picked up his beer and took a sip. Puff. Matt spit out all the beer he just drank. You're only 12 years old. As a fighting nation, Saiyans spend a long period of time in their youth in order to fight. As a mutant, I will be larger when I become an adult, probably around 2 meters 3. Broly explained. Matt nodded expressionlessly, and when this mission was over, he would have to write a report. Moreover, he was more determined to have a good relationship with Broly, and his strength could become stronger. This was simply a very thick thigh, and he had to hold it tightly. As for the task of verifying whether the information Broly said is true, it should be assigned to other CIA agents. The helicopter flew for more than 3 hours before reaching its destination. Someone had cleaned the ground and lit the luminous device that guided the helicopter to land. 2 helicopters landed slowly, and a team of 10 Rings soldiers were already waiting there. Most of them are Pashtuns, and only the 2 leaders are Orientals. One of them is bald and has a long grey beard. He is about 60 or 70 years old, but he has strong muscles and a strong spirit. Standing next to him was a beautiful young woman, with a curvy figure and no trace of her age. The old man is the eldest disciple of Fire Cloud Evil God, his name is Wang Ziyuheng, and the woman is the 4th disciple, her name is Su Mei. Matt explained for Broly. Several people from the CIA got off the helicopter, and the 2 helicopters flew away directly. They would pick up everyone from the CIA after negotiating and explaining. "Welcome, Mr. Matt, Master is already waiting for you." Wang Ziyuheng stretched out his hand and shook Matt's hand. Before Matt was responsible for cleaning up drug trafficking organizations in Mexico for the CIA, he was responsible for the CIA's intelligence work in Afghanistan, so he knew the main figures in 10 Rings. After he let go of Matt's hand, he focused on Broly. Chapter 83. Who is this friend? He's very impressive. Although Broly suppressed the energy in his body, Wang Ziyuheng still saw that something was wrong. Although chi can be suppressed, Wang Ziyuheng's eyes were sharp and he could tell at a glance that Broly's physical characteristics showed that he was physically strong and had amazing boxing skills. Broly is the strong man we found to deal with the cat demon. I believe you have seen it on TV. He is the Green Goblin. Wang Ziyuheng's pupil shrank. He had watched the video in Mexico City. Green Goblin is much stronger than him in terms of pure destructive power. Unexpectedly, such a troublesome person turned out to be someone from the CIA. Is this Green Goblin coming here to demonstrate to Master? Wang Ziyuheng's mind turned. This Tony Stark incident caused a crack in the relationship between 10 Rings and the CIA. It is normal for the CIA to have this idea. It seems that I need to remind the Master to give this person a show of strength and dampen the CIA's spirit. In this way, you will not fall behind in the subsequent negotiations. Everyone got into the military truck prepared by 10 Rings. Everyone at the CIA was put on soundproof headphones and 17 sets of headgear. They could not see or hear any outside information. The journey was bumpy for more than 2 hours. The military truck stopped. Taking off his hood and headphones, Broly found himself in a valley. 10 Rings draws water from nowhere and builds an artificial lake of huge amounts in the valley. The water is clear and lotus roots are planted everywhere. Green lotuses stand on the surface of the lake, and precious koi carps of various colors fly back and forth in the lake, chasing each other. There are lush vegetation on the shore of the lake. There are 5 steps to the first floor and 10 steps to the pavilion. Hogyoku God actually lived in this barren land and built 10 paradises. All the Pashtun soldiers were left outside the valley. Wang Ziyuheng used his internal power to drive a wooden boat and led everyone towards the wooden building where the Fire Cloud Evil God was. Jumping off the canoe, Broly stood on the grass and stared at the wooden building where the Fire Cloud Evil God was. This wooden building has carved beams and painted beams, and the details are extremely exquisite, but it does not become ordinary because of this. Instead, it is majestic and majestic, showing the owner's heroic spirit of swallowing thousands of miles like a tiger. Even across the wooden building, Broly could still feel that the owner in the wooden house was looking at him. Personal character can affect chi, and except for a few exercises and techniques, it is almost impossible to hide it. Many martial arts have requirements for the cultivator's character. If the character is not compatible, the practice will only get twice the result with half the effort. In serious cases, it may even lead to obsession. Some weird martial arts can even change the personality of the warrior through chi. Broly is reading the Fire Cloud Evil God's energy. Fire Cloud Evil God is obviously a very domineering, very self-centered, and even unscrupulous person. His energy showed this unbridled, like a black evil dragon, entangled on the wooden building, looking down at Broly. Nearly 100 years of practice have made Hogyoku Evil God's chi obscure and inexplicable, like an abyss. Broly was unable to judge how powerful the Fire Cloud Evil God was. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. Broly began to tremble with excitement. Do you feel that you are weak? Wang Ziyuheng raised the corners of his mouth and looked at Broly sarcastically. On the way here, he informed his master in advance and wanted to give Broly a blow. These Americans are so naive that they really think that if they just find someone, they can compete with master. Even in Middle-earth where strong men gather, there are only 3 people who can keep pace with the master. Roar! Broly went straight into his rage form. Compared to when he was in Mexico City, he was a lot stronger. After entering the angry form, the improvement in strength was even more astonishing. His pupils turned directly to orange, and green energy burned like a flame on his body surface. The ground beneath his feet was shaking violently. The water in the artificial lake was windless and the waves were shaking. The wooden boat on top of it was bouncing. The koi in the lake had sharper senses than humans. They gathered in a group and swam to the other side of the lake in fear. Aside. What kind of energy is this? What kind of martial arts is this? Wang Ziyuheng, who was standing next to Broly, took a few steps back. This energy was much stronger than what he showed in Mexico City. If there was a fight, he would not even be able to take 10 moves, and he would be killed. Beat to death. If the master's chi is extremely self-centered, then this guy's chi is extremely bellicose and extremely destructive. Turtle-style Qigong. Destructive energy quickly gathered between Broly's palms, as if there was a green sun in his hands. Not good. An exclamation came from the wooden building, and Wang Ziyuheng jumped onto the wooden boat and fled with Matt and others. Is this what Alex calls going crazy? It's as terrifying as a nightmare. Matt looked at Broly dumbfounded. The powerful and destructive energy directly oppressed his senses. Hey! Hey! Broly, please don't kill Fire Cloud Evil God. Wang Ziyuheng, an American who has never seen the world, shook his head. At this level, I am not Master's opponent, but I am already much stronger than the successors of Middle-earth. I thought there would be no more genius than the 2 of them in the world. Where did this person come from? Of 553. While they were talking, Broly had already blasted the air out of his hand. Kill the dragon and seek enlightenment. A figure instantly appeared in front of the green Qigong wave and kicked out a dragon-shaped force, directly kicking the Qigong wave into the air. Boom! The Qigong wave exploded in the sky, almost dyeing the sky above the valley green, and the rolled-up shockwave was like a hurricane, rolling up all the lotus leaves above the artificial lake. If Wang Ziyuheng and Su Mei hadn't released their inner energy to resist, the wooden boat under their feet would have been capsized directly. Fire Cloud Evil God appeared. He looked much younger than his disciple Wang Ziyuheng. He looked like a strong man in his 40s, with a handsome face, black hair with a few white strands, thick eyebrows and hawk-like eyes, and a drooping beard. To the chest, he wears a black cloak, showing his majestic appearance. He raised his head and glanced at the Qigong waves exploding in the air, and his eyelids twitched. This was the first time he encountered such a random and simple and crude move. This move alone can not only destroy the wooden building, but even the mountain behind the wooden building. If this green goblin is allowed to cause trouble here, all his pots and jars will be beaten to pieces. When he thought of this, he moved one hand, and a majestic water column poured out from the artificial lake, pouring down towards Broly. Then the true energy circulated and turned into the extremely cold frost air. Chapter 84. Aoxuling Shuang. This move is a unique move among Tianshuang Fist, the top martial arts school in Daxia, and it is also the most powerful move. There are 4 moves in one move: standing proudly on the solitary peak, searching for plum blossoms in the snow ridge, Lingyun overwhelming the top, and reflection in the frost river. The strange cold frost air used by the Fire Cloud Evil God can even freeze tsunamis instantly and freeze the river surface. The strange frosty air instantly froze the lake and Broly into a giant piece of ice. Fire Cloud Evil God introduces new things from the old, and when freezing his opponent, he can even use the frost energy to corrode his acupoints, making it impossible for people to use their internal energy, and they can just sit back and watch themselves being frozen to death. Is he dead? No. Fire Cloud Evil God discovered that Broly's chi not only did not weaken, but was constantly getting stronger. Drink! Broly directly cracked the ice, and the frost energy that invaded his body was directly forced out, leaving the ground in a mess. The green flames on his body surged and disappeared. The next moment, he appeared in front of Fire Cloud Evil God, and slashed towards Fire Cloud Evil God's neck with the diary knife. The Fire Cloud Evil God used a frosty movement to embrace the moon, holding the moon in defense, blocking the hand strike, and then used the cold energy to counterattack and attack, trying to freeze Broly's blood with the frost energy. The two of them exchanged dozens of moves in an instant. Broly was hit by the Fire Cloud Evil God's heavy punches filled with frost energy, but he was only injured and the energy in his body became stronger and stronger. This person's chi is directly transformed from the chi and blood in the body. He does not follow the 12 regular meridians and the 8 extraordinary meridians. No wonder sealing his acupoints with Tianzhuang chi has no effect. So how did he develop this body? He has almost endless chi. The Fire Cloud Evil God has used the Skyfrost chi that blasted into Broly's body to find out his details, but he is even more confused, and is he a giant beast from the wild? He was hit like this by me. With so many punches, there are actually no broken muscles or bones. Even if an ordinary person reaches the 9th level of the Golden Bell Shield, I will directly break the gong. Broly's figure suddenly flashed, and he took the initiative to distance himself from the Fire Cloud Evil God. He wanted to use his energy to get rid of the cold energy that was driven into his body by the Fire Cloud Evil God. The clothes on his upper body had been beaten to pieces, revealing his strong body. After entering the angry state, although his IQ was directly halved, his martial arts ability occupied the high ground. If this continues, the cold energy that penetrates into the body will invade the blood vessels. Even a Saiyan will lose part of his combat effectiveness if his blood is frozen and his blood vessels are blocked. If the ice condensed in the blood enters the heart, he may die directly. His body is very powerful, but his internal organs are still vital, just like Goku died of a heart attack. This penetrating cold was too much of a threat to him. It would take time to come up with a method for this kind of martial arts, so he was going to delay it for a while. The next moment, all the chi in Broly's body gathered towards his palms, and soon, a ball of green chi floated above his palms. Came Senryu Martial Arts IV-10, Manipulation Bomb, an energy bomb that can be manipulated and attacked repeatedly. As long as the user does not detonate it, it will not explode even if it hits an object, and the energy bomb can be controlled to change direction at will. The battle with the Fire Cloud Evil God caused the levels of all the martial arts he had previously mastered to skyrocket. Fire Cloud Evil God was very puzzled when he saw Broly condensing such a huge amount of energy. He has already practiced the Yi Jin Jing taken from Shaolin to the Black Level Pagoda. After the success, he can communicate with the heaven and earth. His true energy is inexhaustible and endless, but he will not rashly condense such a huge amount of chi. It takes time to recover. Even if he has exhausted his true energy, it will take a stick of incense to replenish it. The 3 minutes after the inner energy is exhausted can be said to be the weakest moment. Broly shouted, and fired the energy bombs towards the Fire Cloud Evil God. Its flight speed was extremely fast, and in an instant, it was close to the Fire Cloud Evil God. Fire Cloud Evil God's Qigong was incredibly fast. He jumped up, avoided the flying chi bombs, and attacked Broly. He changed to the door kick method again, using the 4th style of Feng Shen kick, which was powerful and fast as wind. Before an ordinary expert could see the shadow of his legs clearly, he would be filled with the strength of his legs and torn apart. Body. But when he saw that Broly was not dodging, and there was a strong wind coming from behind him, he suddenly felt something was wrong, and he spun his body, causing the 5th style of Wind God's leg to roll around the building, causing him to change his position. The energy bomb passed through the position he was just in the next moment. If Huoyun Evil God hadn't been experienced in his body skills, he would have been hit by surprise. What a handsome kung fu, it seems to be a method similar to sword control. Unfortunately, although this martial art has excellent intentions, it is too crude. You can't use the magic weapon, activate the sword, and just control such a ball of energy. There is no threat to me. Even though Fire Cloud Evil God said this, he still coveted the energy that Broly used. One of his greatest enemies is Mu Yingxiang, who is known as the Sword Master in Middle-earth. Back then, he was defeated by Mu Yingxiang's sword-wielding skills. After being injured, he was rounded up by the entire Middle-earth martial arts community. He had to flee to Afghanistan to recuperate, trying to take revenge and make a comeback. Although the method used by Broly is crude, it seems that it can give a glimpse into the secrets of sword control, and it may not even be possible to create a sword control technique through it. Thinking of this, Fire Cloud Evil God suddenly used his Dragon Claw hand to grab the incoming chi bomb, and then used the star absorbing technique to dissolve the highly condensed chi. Broly's chi was extremely overbearing, and he didn't want to inhale it into his body in conflict with his Yi Jin Jing skill. My little friend, after fighting in this situation, I believe you have lost all your internal strength, so why not enter my world pavilion to talk about it? In the view of Fire Cloud Evil God, since Broly didn't cultivate his acupoints and meridians, he must have run out of energy after consuming so much energy. He already had the upper hand, so why not give Broly a step up and the two sides sit down and start negotiating? Roar! He responded with a roar. Instead of weakening, Broly's energy became stronger, as if there was a nuclear-powered furnace inside his body that would never go out. The chi on his body no longer burned like a flame, but instead acted like a membrane of air, covering his body. Come again! Broly's face was filled with an expression of eagerness to try. In his angry state, he was extremely belligerent, but he couldn't bear to stop like this. The martial arts of Kamizen Ryu are very different from the martial arts spread in Daxia, and the theories of martial arts are completely different. Even with Broly's martial arts ability, he couldn't learn the Golden Bell Jar in just one battle without any foundation. But he still used chi to imitate the chi in Jinsong Palm in such a short period of time. Chapter 85. Although it cannot protect the whole body like the chi in the Golden Bell cover, only a few shields are left, and the chi consumed is simply terrifying. It is enough to block the cold force of the Fire Cloud Evil God that invades the flesh and corrodes the bones. Boom! The ground beneath his feet collapsed instantly, and the figure appeared in front of Fire Cloud Evil God. A punch hit Hogyoku Evil God's face, and the air in his fist was about to burst like a volcano erupting. Lava erupts. Even the Fire Cloud Evil God did not dare to ignore the opponent's punch. He once again used the frost cold hugging the moon stance in the Tianchuang fist, trying to use the cold power to restrain the opponent before trying to counterattack. But Broly ignored the chill that spread along his arm and raised his other hand into a sword, riding like a Fire Cloud Evil God. Not good. Fire Cloud Evil God felt that all the cold energy emitted by him was blocked by a layer of extremely tough air film. He quickly changed his moves and used the cloud expelling palm to tear away the sky and expel clouds. It was so powerful that it hit the incoming enemy on the palm knife. Boom! There was a thunderbolt, and Broly was hit dozens of meters into the air by the repulsed palm force. The land under Fire Cloud Evil God's feet was also rolling with mud waves like dozens of landmines exploding. What a strong force! Fire Cloud Evil God's palms trembled slightly. Once the I Ching Jin is practiced to the black level of Pagoda, it can be reborn, which is comparable to the undefeated golden body in the 12 levels of the Golden Bell. Broly's chi technique is crude, but his ability to use chi to exert force and his original strength are very powerful. The strength of this palm was astonishing, weighing hundreds of tons. If he hadn't practiced Yi Jing Jin, he would have been severely injured if he was careless. Previously, Broly needed to reserve his energy to resist the frost energy that invaded his body, and was unable to use his energy to increase his strength. Now that he has the energy film, he can finally exert his power unscrupulously. In that case, I'm going to compete with you to see whose palm power is stronger. The Fire Cloud Evil God was also aroused by Broly. With a roar, he rose from the ground and attacked Broly in the air. Kong Long has regrets. A dragon roar resounded throughout the world, and the Fire Cloud Evil God sent out a dragon-shaped force that was more than 10 feet long. Broly's pupil shrank, he stretched out his hands and took the palm forcefully. Roar! All the power in this gang chi hit him, knocking him directly from the air to the ground. Boom! The falling figure like a meteor bombarded the ground with a crater with a diameter of tens of meters. In the flying dust, there was a golden dragon shadow that was beating endlessly. Oops, the master didn't hold back, this man will definitely die. Bef, Wang Ziyuheng used his claws to tear apart the surging waves, and secretly complained. The CIA's master died here, and it is difficult to end it now. Matt and the others sitting on the boat were so suppressed by the power that they could not even speak. Just as he was thinking crazily, two sounds of boom, boom, suddenly rang out from the smoke, and two green gas bombs roared out, blasting towards the Fire Cloud Evil God in the air. Then Broly's figure came out of the fog, like a powerful arrow, and shot directly at Kong Chen. Is this guy the regenerative healing factor? Wang Ziyuheng was stunned. Two powerful figures collided fiercely in the air. Fire Cloud Evil God stabilized Broly's head, and from time to time he would blow Broly away with strong palm force. However, Broly stood up again as if he would not be hurt, and activated fight back. Even the Fire Cloud Evil God did not dare to accept his attack easily. What kind of monster is this man? He has 2 broken ribs and a cracked arm bone. However, his combat power is getting stronger and stronger, as if he was not injured at all. When the battle reached this point, Hogyoku evil god also felt that the situation was out of his control. Overwhelming. The fire cloud evil god used his powerful internal force to activate the fourth move in his cloud expelling palm. His palm movement was like a mountain and river toppling over, and he collided with Broly's fist. Boom! The fierce collision between the two almost shook the clouds in the air, and the sound was like a thunderbolt in the clear sky, spreading in all directions. If we continue to fight like this, although we can defeat this person, the fighting will be too loud. This long-established business will inevitably be known to those old enemies, and we may suffer some injuries. We can only use the sword, quickly. This beast is defeated. Fire Cloud Evil God made up his mind, and suddenly cast Zeun Wuting. The yin and yang changes in his palm movements caused Broly to reveal his flaw, and then hit his side with another palm, blasting him completely into the pit before knocking him out. Here comes the sword. He stretched out his hand and shouted. Wang Xuanzhe, the second disciple of Fire Cloud Evil God, was originally in Tianxia Pavilion. When his master fought with Broly, he took several fellow disciples to use their skills to protect Tianxia Pavilion. He carried a huge amount of sword box on his back, wrapped with dense talismans and ink threads. After hearing the master's order, although he was stunned for a moment, he still used his inner strength to break open the ink lines and opened the sword box. An extremely terrifying and extremely depressing evil wave centered on the sword box and spread in all directions. Several disciples of the Fire Cloud Evil God were still able to resist with difficulty using their internal strength. Matt and the others were directly captured by the evil object in the box, and actually lost consciousness. They wanted to jump off the canoe and swim towards the evil object. Wang Ziyuheng instantly knocked them out, but his expression was extremely ugly. I didn't expect that Master would reach the point of using the Star Tribulation. He didn't expect that just by asking Master to give the CIA people a blow, things would develop into such an unmanageable situation. In ancient times, there was a god and a demon. The god was Yuanshi Tianzun, and the demon was Yuanzu Tianmo. The two were fighting. The Yuanzu heavenly demon was tied up outside the sky by Yuanshi Tianzun with a giant Xiantian net, but the Yuanzu heavenly demon was naturally not willing to be trapped, so he broke open a gap in the sky net and threw 10 magic beads into the human world. Each of these 10 magic beads had their own destiny, and turned into 10 magic weapons that were powerful enough to reach heaven and earth. In order to seize martial arts secrets, the Fire Cloud Evil God destroyed a family that had been passed down for thousands of years, and found a magic weapon in the forbidden area of the family. This demonic soldier is called Xingxiuji. The demon soldier has self-awareness, and if its power is not blocked, it will lure weak-willed people to hold it around and start killing. The sword is long and slender, with 6 orbs inlaid on the hilt. The front and back are marked with 12 o'clock. The sharp blade is also divided into 12 sections, just like the human spine, extremely sharp. The Star Tribulation can not only increase the sword master's internal strength by a huge amount and create a sword that destroys the world, but it can also control the flow of time within 3 feet of the sword master. After the Fire Cloud Evil God obtained this magic weapon, it was difficult to find an opponent in the world, causing a bloody storm in the Middle Earth. Wang Xuanzhe practiced Xian Bingjin and was able to bewitch the demon weapon, so Hogyoku Evil God entrusted him with this demon weapon for safekeeping. At the moment, he was closest to the demon soldiers and bore the brunt of them. Although he used his inner strength to calm his mind, he was still full of distracting thoughts.
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.